Kudos to Benny for her boldness. I mean, she's not just smart, she is also very bold. If not, Emeka would have molested this girl in this house, and the so-called father Jonathan will support Emeka for doing so. Sometimes I begin to wonder if Jonathan is under a spell to always believe everything that Emeka says. What is he really afraid of? A grown-up man like Emeka is telling you that your daughter tried to seduce him in your own house, and you are believing him. The question should be, what is Emeka doing in your house when he knows that you and your wife are not at home? Jonathan is not even smart enough to think about things like that. At this point, Jonathan should be checked, because it seems as if Jonathan is not thinking straight anymore. The greatest surprise will be when Cheta will vanish into thin air, because Emeka and Debbie are trying to use Cheta to achieve their evil aim, not knowing that Cheta is 10 steps ahead of them. Cheta has eventually sold the house. The money has been transferred to Cheta's account. Now, Cheta has also gone ahead to sell the only plot of land that Jonathan has, 100 million naira. Why Emeka is still looking for a buyer that will buy the property, Cheta has already sold the property. The players has been played. That is why when you point one finger against somebody, the remaining one is pointed at you. At this point, Cheta will be so rich and powerful in such a way that Emeka and Debbie will not be able to fight her again. But the one person that I'm somehow, feeling pity for is Jonathan, that his dreams will never come true. Jonathan's dream is to return back to being the big Joe. He's willing to give everything that he has actually done, yet it's never going to happen. I feel sorry for him at this point, because I know that deep down, Jonathan has a good plan for the daughter, but it's just never going to happen. Why do I have a feeling that these buyers are somehow linked to Hanks and Clara? But if so, why would they risk sending that kind of money to Cheta's account? Because Cheta is a player that will definitely run away with this money. Jonathan is in serious trouble. Indeed, this is what happened to anybody that feels he knows it all, that he does not need any advice from anybody, yet he allowed himself to be manipulated by his so-called friends. While Emeka and Cheta were discussing some things concerning this business and why the transaction is taking too long, remember that the goods were supposed to be received this week. And Cheta said to Jonathan, let me even make a call to those people to know exactly what is holding this transaction. All right, because he was already hailing Big Joe that is definitely going to become very rich, very, very rich. In fact, they are going to show the world shaggy with the money that they are going to make from this business. I wonder why Jonathan is never thinking of the possible situation that might occur in a business like this. But Jonathan was so happy. He was so concerned about returning back to being his Big Joe again. And then eventually, Cheta made a phone call to the so-called supplier. But then, since it was already arranged for the supplier to lie to Jonathan to make him bring more money, the supplier said, right now, if only you can bring in 50 million, I will send you guys to the package that will give you 7 times return. Imagine Jonathan investing 100 million and he's giving times 7 of that money. And Jonathan being a greedy person, because at this point I feel like Jonathan is greedy, because why don't you take the one that is available if at all is going to come? Jonathan said, you know what, tell the person that we are going to raise that money. We are going to raise that money. I have one plot of land, I'm going to sell it and give you the 50 million so that we can do this one that will give us 7 times return. This is what greed can make you do. But unfortunately for Jonathan, this money is definitely going out and never coming back again, because all these people that you trust around you, they are only using you. They are gamers playing you. And Jonathan said, you know what, I'm just going to give you the document of that land so that you can go ahead and sell the land. Cheta was very happy, because this is a game plan that she know by her own very self that she's going to make money from. I wonder why this woman does not even have a little pity for Jonathan, even when she already know that Jonathan is struggling. Jonathan went in there, carried the document, handed the document over to Cheta and told Cheta, Please, I need you to leave this house, go there, sell that land and use it. Okay, I want you to do whatever you want to do with that land. All right. So Cheta at some point was also excited that Jonathan has given her the opportunity to do this. When Cheta went to meet up with Amaka and Debbie to discuss the issue of the land, they were all surprised that Cheta is able to pull this in a short period of time. Can you imagine that? That is because, again, Jonathan is desperate. He's desperate of going back to being himself, the big Joe. So Cheta is, using the opportunity of his weakness to demand for things. All right. That is why Jonathan is giving out these things without even a second thought about it. And they were all surprised that Cheta has really surprised them, in all of these things. But you all know that Cheta they don't even know that Cheta is ahead of them. Cheta has her own plans because in her own self, she's feeling that these people might want to play me. So let me use this opportunity to play them before they eventually do same to me. But the problem right now is the fact that Amaka is still not satisfied. According to him, he wants to make Jonathan run mad. What has Jonathan even done to Amaka that Amaka don't want to forgive? Jonathan is not responsible for your mother's death. It is you. If your friend refused to give you money for your mother's treatment, it is not on him, right? I wonder why you want to destroy Jonathan simply because he did not give you money to pay for your mother's hospital bill that made your mother die. I don't understand. That is crazy. And then they want to take Benny away from Jonathan so that Jonathan can eventually lose everything. Remember that Benny is the only person that is making Jonathan happy at this point. If you take that girl away from Jonathan, he's going to really run mad. Why Benny was at home, Amaka came into this house. And the first question was, is anybody at home? Where is your father? Where is your mom? And for the fact that Jonathan was not at home, Amaka wanted to use this opportunity to molest their own daughter and then lie on her, knowing fully well that Jonathan is going to believe him. But then, thank God for the fact that Benny is a very strong and bold girl. She's smart. Amaka started making advances on this little girl, right? And while she was telling Amaka to stop, Amaka felt like, oh, this girl is truly what they claim she is. Going close to Benny, Benny pushed Amaka down, carried a very heavy substance and hit it on Amaka's head and ran out of the house. And then eventually met the father coming in. And the father asked Benny, where are you going? Why are you running out like that? What is happening? And Benny's, while she was, startling, was trying to tell the father that your friend is your friend. He tried to molest me. He came here. He tried to molest me. And the father said, Amaka cannot do such a thing. That is, Jonathan can never believe in his life that Amaka is at fault. He does not believe that Amaka is capable of hurting a fly, even though Amaka is the reason why he has lost everything he owned. He still did not believe. Getting into the house, meeting his friend Amaka, crying that the daughter hit something on his head. He asked, Amaka, what happened? And Amaka started lying on this little girl. That is it not this spoiled brat of yours that tried to seduce me, and because I said no to her, she hit something on my head, and right now my head is aching. And Jonathan immediately slapped the daughter. How dare you? So all this thing that everybody is saying about you is true. That means that Jonathan truly did not know the daughter. How can you support somebody that you met in your own house? Your daughter is crying, telling you that somebody tried to molest her, and the only thing you could do was to side the man that came to molest your own daughter. Jonathan decided to side his friend Amaka. The daughter was very angry. So Dad, you decide to believe your friend over me. What is wrong with you? And Amaka told Jonathan, if you don't do anything about this thing, I am going to cut ties with you. And Jonathan became very scared that Amaka want to cut ties with him. The question is, what have you benefited from Amaka since you guys became friends? Nothing. Rather, you have lost a lot having Amaka as your friend. The daughter became very angry and ran upstairs. And you can imagine that Jonathan ran after the daughter. He went upstairs to chase the daughter. How dare you do that? And again wanted to hit the daughter. Again, Jonathan, what is wrong with you? And the daughter said, you dare not do that, because if you try it, I'm going to send you out of this house. This house belongs to me. And Jonathan was like, you want to throw me out of my own house? Remember that this house was bought under the name of Benny. So Benny have every right to throw Jonathan out of this house. But it's so unfortunate that Jonathan does not even know that any moment from now he's going to become homeless, because these people are conniving, planning to send you out of this house, to sell this house so that you be homeless. You don't even know what is coming for you. And the daughter said, if you dare raise your hands at me again, I am going to send you out of this house without even thinking twice. In fact, at this point, I regret having you as my father. Benny ran outside and met with Cheta. At this point, she was so angry that she pushed Cheta out of her way when Cheta was trying to find out what is happening at home. You know, this is one thing I know about this girl. She is very, very bold. When Cheta got into the house, she met Jonathan sitting down on the bed thinking about his life. What have I done to myself? Am I really doing the right thing? I know a lot of things are actually running in the mind of Jonathan. But then Cheta said to Jonathan, this is the reason why I told you to send that girl out of this house. Because she is so arrogant. That girl is stubborn. She's going to cost you a lot of things if you don't chase her out. But again, why would Jonathan chase Benny out of his own house? Where do you want this little girl to run to? That is how I got to know that Cheta and every other person out there do not have any heart. They don't have a heart to think about other people's feelings. And Jonathan said, I can't really do that. You should think about this whole thing. That is my flesh and blood. I cannot send her out of this house. And Cheta said to Jonathan, if you don't do it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to chase her out of this house. Isn't that enough reason for Jonathan to start thinking twice about this marriage? A woman came into my life and chased everything that I have around me away, and now my own daughter, you want me to send her out of my house? And Jonathan still thinks it's okay. Amaka decided to discuss this whole thing with his V5 friends, which happens to be Kenneth and Amaka. He was complaining that the wife wants him to send his girl out of the house because of what happened at home. And Amaka said, I've told you that girl is very stubborn. You need to chase her out of the house. If not, I'm going to cut ties with you. What right do you have over that family? That you went into that place knowing fully well that Amaka and the wife are not at home. Why did you go there? Why did you go there in the first place? It's because you want to have your way with that girl. That is why you went there. And Amaka became very upset. They always don't want to listen to the truth. How do you think that I want to molest that girl? Now look, I'm going through a lot of pains. You need to do something about it. Even when a shameless Jonathan was trying to beg Amaka, Amaka refused. Rather, he was focusing on Kenneth. But Kenneth put it straight to them that if anything happens, if you eventually send that girl out of that house, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to personally take her to the human right? I am going to write a petition against you, and you and your wife will be thrown out on the street. Try me. Amaka did not see this coming, I guess. Amaka never saw this coming. He thinks that everybody around him is as stupid as he is. How can you want to do this to your own daughter, chasing your daughter out of the house simply because Amaka says so? This is crazy. Now look at Cheta inviting people to come and inspect the building that you live in. You think you got married to a good woman, not knowing that it's somebody that wants to sell your house and render you homeless. The people came in to inspect the building, of which they eventually did. They went to the kitchen and everything was looking beautiful. They were already amazed that they are going to buy this house and enjoy the building. Cheta is doing all of these things behind Jonathan's back. Jonathan is not aware of what is going on here, right? In his mind, he feels that these people are really coming here to make that business transaction to work. But when Jonathan came back home, he saw some men coming out of his building and he was concerned. Why are these men in my house? What are they doing in my house? Jonathan ran inside and met Cheta. And she asked Cheta again, I saw some men just coming out of this house. Why are they here? And Cheta told Jonathan, they came to inspect, to actually conclude the business, to see me in person, since we have always been talking on phone. And Jonathan said, so what did you people discuss? And Cheta started, startling. Is this not enough reason for Jonathan to suspect that something is going on, something is fishy? But again, Cheta is a very good actor, right? She was able to cover her tracks, convincing Jonathan to believe her again. How is Jonathan ever going to come out of this mess that he has put himself into? And Jonathan, asked some questions, which Cheta obviously told Jonathan that they came, to make sure that the business will go a lot faster. They don't want, any form of scam and all that. And they just want to do this to make everything work perfectly. They enjoyed themselves at some point and they started drinking, celebrating the wins that they are going to get. But then Cheta again tried to manipulate Jonathan where they got to bed, and Cheta was like, is this thing ever going to continue like this? Or you're just going to abandon me once you start having big money? Once you start making money and you become big Joe, you want to abandon me? Or are we going to continue loving ourselves? And Jonathan said, if I ever do that, then I am ungrateful, because you are the reason why I am anything again. So I'm never going to abandon you. So please trust me. Let us stay together for this whole thing to push through. Not knowing, Cheta went behind Jonathan's back to sell that land. And unfortunately, the land was to be sold for 100 million, no longer 50 million, because the price of the land has actually skyrocketed. And Jonathan is not even aware of it. The question is, if Jonathan have a land that he can sell for 50 million, why didn't you go to sell that land, use the money to start a business of your own? You refused, and now you want to sell the land because your wife says so. Cheta eventually sold that land for 100 million naira. This is crazy. Not only that Cheta sold that land, she also went ahead to sell the house for 50 million, right? This house has been sold completely. The money has been transferred to Cheta's account, right? And the document has been handed over to the people, which means that the document that Cheta presented to Amaka and Debbie is the photocopy of that document. The players have been played. It's so unfortunate. You think you want to play Cheta, Cheta is ahead of them. Now, Debbie had to meet up with Amaka to find out why Amaka allowed that girl to treat him like this. You know that Benny is a very arrogant and stubborn girl. When you cross her path, she's going to deal with you, and that is exactly what has happened to Amaka. Now, Amaka has also tested what he is doing to other people. He's under pains right now, okay? And this is how he's going to continue. So the best thing is for you not to be greedy, according to Debbie. Sell this land, let us share this profit now that it is not too late. And Amaka say, right now it's too hard for us to get buyers to buy things, not knowing that the whole thing that you people are banking on selling to make money has been sold already by your friend Cheta. Jonathan eventually took a buyer to the land to survey the land, but this land has already been sold. What a great surprise. They will be shocked when Cheta will be nowhere to be found. But that we are going to find out on the next episode. Please like the video if you are not like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. I will bring the next episode as soon as possible. But for now, take care.